You think you're untouchable, Ruth? Drink up. This is the last night you'll ever shine. Those words slice through the champagne-soaked air of the Roosevelt rooftop, 53 floors above Manhattan. The city glitters below like a blanket of broken diamonds, but Ruth Jackson isn't looking at the skyline. She's watching her husband's reflection in the polished marble bar top, watching him slip something into her glass. Ruth is 63 years old, retired after 41 years at First National Bank, and tonight is supposed to be her coronation. Her colleagues pack this place wall to wall. String lights twist through the exposed beams overhead. A jazz quartet plays something smooth in the corner. Everyone she's ever worked with is here, glasses raised, ready to toast the woman who climbed from teller to senior manager without a college degree, without connections, without anything but grit and numbers that never lied. But numbers aren't the only things that tell the truth. Ruth catches it in her peripheral vision, that practiced sleight of hand. Leonard's thick fingers fumbling with a small vial, white powder tumbling into the Veuve Clicquot like snow into dirty water. Her heart doesn't race. 41 years of handling other people's money taught her to stay calm when the numbers don't add up. And tonight, nothing adds up. She turns slowly, her burgundy dress catching the light, silver jewelry gleaming at her throat. Leonard is smiling that smile, the one he's been wearing for 38 years of marriage, the one that used to make her feel safe. "You look beautiful tonight, baby," he says, pressing the glass into her hand. His palm is sweating. Ruth takes the glass. She looks into his eyes, those brown eyes that watched their daughter take her first steps, that cried at her father's funeral, that promised forever on a hot August day in 1987. She sees nothing in them now, just shadows and something cold. The moment stretches. The jazz quartet hits a high note. Someone laughs too loud by the shrimp tower. Then Ruth does what she's always done. She makes a calculation. "To my incredible wife," Leonard announces, raising his own glass. The crowd quiets. All eyes turn. 40 years of dedication. 40 years of excellence. Tonight we celebrate Ruth Jackson, the woman who never quit, who never backed down, who never let anything slip past her. The irony tastes like copper. Ruth lifts her glass, but her hand dips low as she passes Leonard. A movement so smooth it looks like affection. Their glasses clink. The crowd echoes the toast. Crystal chimes fill the air like church bells. And in that split second, in that breath between promise and poison, Ruth switches them. Leonard doesn't notice. He's already drinking, already tilting his head back, already swallowing the future he planned for her. Ruth brings her glass to her lips but doesn't drink. She watches, counts, waits. 5 seconds. Leonard's smile falters. 10 seconds. His hand goes to his throat. 15 seconds. The glass slips from his fingers and explodes against the marble floor like a gunshot. "Leonard," someone screams. It might be his secretary, it might be his brother. Ruth can't tell anymore because the world has gone liquid and strange. Her husband drops to his knees. His face turns the color of old concrete. His hands claw at his collar, at his chest, at the air itself. The crowd surges backward like a wave retreating from the shore. Someone is crying. Someone is calling 911. The jazz quartet stops mid-song. Ruth stands perfectly still, her glass still in her hand, her face unreadable. She did this. A voice cuts through the chaos. Sharp, vicious, female. "Vivian." Leonard's sister pushes through the crowd like a hurricane in heels. Her face is twisted, her finger pointed like a weapon. She poisoned him. "I saw her. I saw Ruth poison my brother." The accusation hangs in the air like smoke. The crowd turns. 50 faces, 50 colleagues, 50 people who sat in meetings with Ruth, who trusted her with their retirement accounts, their children's college funds, their mortgages and dreams. They all look at her now with doubt. "You're lying," Ruth says quietly. But her voice is drowned out by Vivian's shrieking, by the sirens already wailing in the distance, by Leonard's rasping breaths as paramedics flood through the door. Vivian storms forward and the slap comes before Ruth can move. The crack of skin on skin silences the room. Ruth's head snaps to the side. Her cheek burns, her eyes water. "Murderer," Vivian hisses close to her face. "You'll rot for this. You think you can kill him and take everything? You're finished, Ruth. Finished." The paramedics swarm Leonard. The police arrive. Someone is asking questions. Someone is taking statements. Ruth's best friend, Patricia, stands frozen by the shrimp tower, her mouth open, her eyes uncertain. And Ruth realizes in that moment, surrounded by people who should know her, who should trust her, that she is utterly alone. But alone is where she's done her best work. Her eyes shift to Leonard's briefcase by the coat check, to his laptop inside it, to the truth waiting in hard drives and hidden files and emails he thought she'd never see. The sirens scream. The crowd whispers. Vivian threatens. And Ruth Jackson, 63 years old, betrayed but not broken, begins to plan. The fluorescent lights in Mount Sinai Hospital buzz like dying insects. Ruth sits in a plastic chair that smells like disinfectant and desperation, her burgundy dress wrinkled, her silver jewelry suddenly feeling like shackles. Around her, the waiting room hums with late-night emergencies. A child cries. Someone coughs. The clock on the wall clicks forward, each second an accusation. Leonard is stable. That's what the doctor said 20 minutes ago. Stable. Like that word means anything anymore. Ruth's phone vibrates in her clutch. 17 missed calls. 43 text messages. She doesn't open them. She knows what they say. She's seen the whispers, the sideways glances, the way people edged away from her when the police asked their questions at the party. The elevator dings. Footsteps approach. Ruth doesn't look up until she hears that voice. "You have some nerve showing your face here." Vivian Leonard's sister stands over her like a storm about to break. She's 58 but carries herself like she's still the beauty queen she was in 1985. Her diamond tennis bracelet catches the light. Her perfume is expensive and suffocating. Her eyes are pure venom. Ruth stands slowly. "I have every right to be here. He's my husband." "Your husband?" Vivian laughs, sharp and cruel. "The woman you tried to murder? That husband?" The waiting room goes quiet. A nurse at the station looks up. An elderly man in the corner lowers his magazine. Everyone is watching now. Everyone is listening. "I didn't poison Leonard," Ruth says, her voice steady even though her hands are shaking. "And you know it." "What I know," Vivian hisses, stepping closer, "is that you're a jealous, bitter woman who couldn't handle the fact that Leonard wanted out. What I know is that you tried to kill him for his money." The slap comes fast. Vivian's hand connects with Ruth's cheek, with a crack that echoes through the hallway. Ruth's head snaps to the side. The sting spreads like wildfire across her face. Her eyes water, but she doesn't cry. She learned decades ago not to cry in public. "You'll pay for this, Ruth." Vivian's voice drops to a whisper, close and threatening. "You'll lose everything. The house, the savings, your reputation. I'll make sure you rot in a cell for what you did to my brother." Ruth touches her burning cheek. She looks at Vivian, really looks at her, and sees something she's seen before. In banking, in fraud cases, in people who lie about their tax returns and offshore accounts. Fear. The security guard approaches. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you both to calm down." Vivian smooths her hair, composes her face, transforms instantly into the victim. "I'm sorry, officer. I'm just so upset about my brother. This woman," she gestures at Ruth like she's pointing out garbage, "tried to kill him at his own wife's retirement party." Ruth doesn't defend herself. Not here. Not now. She turns and walks toward the exit, her heels clicking against linoleum, every eye in that waiting room burning into her back. Outside, the October air is cold and sharp. Manhattan never sleeps, but at 2 a.m, it at least slows down. Ruth stands on the sidewalk, her breath forming clouds, her phone buzzing again in her hand. This time she answers. Carla, she says. Thank God. I need you to… Ruth. Carla's voice is wrong. Tight. Uncomfortable. Listen. People are talking. Let them talk. You know me. You know I wouldn't. I know. But Ruth, it looks bad. Really bad. Leonard collapsing right after you handed him that glass. Vivian is telling everyone you've been planning this. That you were jealous about some affair. Ruth's blood goes cold. What affair? Carla hesitates. The pause stretches too long. You didn't know? The ground tilts. The city spins. Ruth grips the phone tighter. Tell me. Maybe we should talk later, when things calm down, when you have a lawyer. Carla, please. Another pause. Then, quietly, I'm sorry, Ruth. I have to go. Just be careful, okay? Get a good attorney. Don't talk to anyone. The line goes dead. Ruth stands alone on the sidewalk as a taxi splashes through a puddle, as a couple stumbles out of a bar laughing, as the city moves on without her best friend. 23 years of friendship. And even Carla doesn't believe her. The memories hit like punches. Leonard at her promotion dinner 5 years ago, smiling, but saying just loud enough for the table to hear. Big title, bigger ego, right, Ruth? Leonard when she bought her first luxury car with her own bonus, muttering about women who need fancy things to feel important. Leonard every single time she succeeded, making it smaller, making her smaller, until she stopped talking about her wins at all. And Vivian, always there, always commenting about Ruth's clothes, Ruth's hair, Ruth's career. You really don't need to work so hard, Ruth. Leonard makes plenty. It's embarrassing how much you care about that bank job. Jealousy. Ruth sees it now. Vivian, who married rich but ended up divorced. Vivian, who lived off alimony while Ruth built her own empire. Vivian, who always wanted what Ruth had. The cab ride to Brooklyn takes 30 minutes. Ruth doesn't remember any of it. Her apartment is dark and cold. She hasn't been home since this morning, when life was normal, when retirement meant freedom instead of prison. Rain starts to fall, streaking the windows like tears she won't shed. Ruth drops her clutch on the entry table, kicks off her heels, and sees it. Leonard's briefcase, still sitting by the door where he left it this morning, still unlocked. Her hands shake as she opens it. The laptop is inside, silver and sleek and password protected. Leonard's whole life lives in this machine. His emails, his files, his secrets. Ruth carries it to the kitchen table, sits down, opens it. The login screen glows blue in the darkness, casting shadows across her face. She types the password, the one she's known for years, the one Leonard never changed because he never thought she'd need to check. The screen unlocks, and Ruth Jackson begins to dig. The cursor blinks on Leonard's desktop like a heartbeat. Ruth stares at the familiar layout, the same wallpaper he's had for years, their wedding photo from 1987. She's 25 in that picture, wearing her mother's pearls, smiling like the future was a promise someone actually intended to keep. She clicks on his email. The inbox loads. Work correspondence. Spam. Pharmacy reminders. Nothing unusual. Nothing that explains why her husband tried to kill her 6 hours ago. But Ruth didn't run fraud detection at First National for 20 years without learning how to find what people hide. She opens the browser history, deletes his tracks religiously. She checks the downloads folder. Empty. Too empty. Leonard barely knows how to attach a document to an email. Someone cleaned this computer. Someone who knew what they were doing. Ruth leans back. The rain hammers harder against the windows. Thunder rolls somewhere over the East River. She closes her eyes and thinks like she did when she'd catch discrepancies in account statements, when the numbers looked right, but felt wrong. Where would a man who can barely operate his iPhone hide something? She opens his email settings, scrolls past the obvious, and there, buried in account management, she finds it. A second email address, one she's never seen before, L. Jackson, Consulting, 2023. Ruth's finger hovers over the mouse. Her heart is pounding now. She clicks. The inbox explodes with messages. Hundreds of them, all to and from one contact name. Monica. Ruth opens the first email. It's dated 3 months ago. The words blur at first, then sharpen into focus like a knife coming at her throat. Baby, I can't wait until this is over. Just a few more weeks and we're free. Jamaica is waiting for us. The account is almost ready. Ruth's hands go cold. She scrolls down, opens another. I know it's hard pretending with her, but think about the money, Leo. 1.2 million in her retirement fund. Another 800,000 in the house equity, plus her pension payout. We're talking almost $3 million. We just have to be patient. The next email makes Ruth's stomach turn. The lawyer says once she's convicted, all marital assets default to you, especially if she's institutionalized or in prison. We frame it as temporary insanity, maybe early dementia. Either way, she's gone, and we're set for life. Ruth reads them all. Every single message, every plan, every lie. Monica is 34 years old, works at Leonard's gym. They've been together for 14 months. She calls him baby. He calls her his future. But it's the email from last week that breaks something inside Ruth's chest. Vivian confirmed she's in, Leonard wrote. She needs $75,000 to save that boutique of hers from bankruptcy. I promised her 100 if she helps us sell the narrative. She'll be the grieving sister, backing up the story that Ruth has been unstable. She'll testify if needed. Monica, we're golden. This retirement party is perfect timing. Ruth will never see it coming. Ruth's sister-in-law. The woman who slapped her in the hospital. The woman who called her a murderer in front of 50 witnesses. Vivian was part of this from the beginning. The betrayal tastes like metal, like blood. Ruth stands up, paces to the window, watches the rain. Brooklyn spreads out below her. A million lit windows holding a million stories. Some of them probably just as ugly as hers. Then she laughs. It starts as a sound in her throat, then grows into something real, something almost joyful. She laughs until tears streak down her face, until her ribs hurt, until the absurdity of it all settles into something she can use. Y'all thought you could outsmart a woman who balanced ledgers for 40 years? Ruth says to the empty apartment, to Leonard's ghost, to the universe itself. Baby, I caught Wall Street executives trying to hide millions. You really think I wouldn't catch your broke behind trying to steal my pension? She sits back down, wipes her eyes, gets to work. Ruth opens Leonard's banking apps. She knows all his passwords because she set them up 5 years ago when he couldn't figure out mobile deposit. The man needed her help to pay a bill online but thought he could mastermind a murder. The accounts tell their own story. Transfers to offshore banks. Small amounts at first. 500 here, 1,000 there. Then bigger. 10,000, 20. All going to an account in the Cayman Islands under a shell company name. Ruth screenshots everything. Creates a folder. Labels it evidence. Her banking brain is in full control now. Methodical and precise. Then she finds the voice memos. They're buried in a cloud storage app Leonard probably doesn't even remember he has. Ruth clicks the first file. Leonard's voice fills her kitchen, arrogant and cruel, and so sure of himself. Ruth won't see it coming. She's too busy being proud of her little retirement party. The powder goes in her drink, she goes down, everyone sees it, and I play the devastated husband. Monica, you should have seen how easy it was to buy that stuff online. Untraceable. Looks like a heart attack. Even if they test for it, I'll say she must have taken it herself. Depression. Anxiety about retirement. The lawyer already drafted the competency papers. Ruth's hands shake as she listens. The recording is 4 days old. She'll be locked up or dead, Leonard continues. And we'll be gone. 2 weeks, baby. Then it's you and me and $3 million in paradise. Vivian will handle the house sale. Everything's perfect. Ruth saves the file, backs it up to 3 different drives, emails it to herself, to a private account Leonard doesn't know exists. Then she sits in the darkness, her face illuminated by the laptop's glow, and stares at their wedding photo on the screen. She was so young, so hopeful, so stupid to think love was enough. She closes the laptop, stands, walks to the living room, and pulls their wedding album from the shelf, opens it to the same photo, Leonard in his rented tux, Ruth in her mother's pearls, both of them promising forever. Ruth touches the photo once, then closes the album. Forever just ended, and the real work is about to begin. Vivian's townhouse on East 74th Street smells like old money and new lies. Crystal chandeliers hang from 14-foot ceilings. Oil paintings and gilded frames line the walls. The dining table could seat 20, but tonight holds 12. Leonard's family, his brothers, his cousins, his aunt who still wears pearls to breakfast. And Ruth. She sits at the far end, wearing a simple black dress and her mother's pearls, the same ones from the wedding photo. She hasn't said a word since she arrived 30 minutes ago. Just nodded, smiled politely. Took her seat like she was invited instead of summoned. Leonard is still in the hospital, stable but under observation. The police took statements but made no arrests. Not yet. Without proof, it's her word against his entire family. But Ruth has proof now. Vivian sits at the head of the table like a queen presiding over an execution. She's changed clothes 3 times, finally settling on a black Chanel suit that screams grief and money in equal measure. Her eyes are red but dry. She dabs at them with a handkerchief anyway. "I want to thank you all for coming," Vivian begins, her voice trembling with practiced emotion. "Especially during this horrible, horrible time. My brother is fighting for his life because of that woman." She points at Ruth without looking at her. Ruth takes a sip of water, says nothing. Leonard's brother Marcus shifts uncomfortably. He's never liked Vivian much. "Ruth, are you sure you don't want to say something? This is getting out of hand." "Let her speak," Ruth says quietly. "I'm listening." Vivian's eyes flash. "Oh, you're listening? You're listening now? Where was that when you poisoned my brother at your own retirement party? In front of everyone. In front of his colleagues. His friends." "I didn't poison Leonard," Ruth says. Her voice is calm. Too calm. It unnerves the room. "The police found residue in your glass," Vivian snaps. "Your fingerprints. Your opportunity. You switched the glasses, Ruth. We all saw it." "You saw what you wanted to see," Ruth replies. Leonard's aunt, a tiny woman named Dora, who taught Ruth how to make cornbread 30 years ago, speaks up. "Ruth, honey, why would Leonard try to hurt you? You've been married almost 40 years. This doesn't make sense." "Doesn't it?" Ruth asks. She looks around the table. At faces she's known for decades. At people who came to her daughter's christening, who borrowed money from her when times were tight, who celebrated every promotion, every milestone, every victory. Ask yourselves what makes sense. A woman who spent 41 years building her career suddenly decides to murder her husband at a party full of witnesses? Or a man who stands to inherit millions if his wife is convicted? The room goes quiet. Ruth can hear the grandfather clock in the hallway ticking, can hear someone's fork scraping against china, can hear Vivian's breathing getting faster. "You're delusional," Vivian hisses. "You're a monster. Marcus, tell her. Someone tell her." But nobody speaks. They're all looking at Ruth now, really looking, seeing something they missed before. Ruth reaches into her purse, pulls out her phone, sets it on the table like a card in a poker game she's about to win. "I want you all to hear something," she says. Vivian's face goes pale. "Ruth, what are you doing?" "The truth," Ruth replies. She presses play. Leonard's voice fills the dining room, loud and clear and damning. Ruth won't see it coming. She's too busy being proud of her little retirement party. The powder goes in her drink. She goes down. Everyone sees it, and I play the devastated husband. The room freezes. 12 faces turn to stone. 12 mouths drop open. Even the chandelier seems to hold its breath. Monica, you should have seen how easy it was to buy that stuff online. Untraceable. Looks like a heart attack. Marcus stands up so fast his chair falls backward. What the hell is this? Keep listening, Ruth says. She'll be locked up or dead, and we'll be gone. 2 weeks, baby. Then it's you and me, and $3 million in paradise. Vivian will handle the house sale. Everything's perfect. Every eye in the room turns to Vivian. She's standing now, her hands gripping the table edge, her knuckles white. That's not, she starts. You doctored that. You made that up. Did I? Ruth asks. Did I doctor the offshore accounts too? The email trail? The bank transfers showing you taking $50,000 from Leonard last month? The texts where you promised to testify against me? Vivian's mouth opens, but nothing comes out. Then the front door crashes open. A woman storms into the dining room. She's young, maybe 35, blonde, wearing a leopard print coat and fury like a second skin. The maid tries to stop her, but she pushes past. Monica. Where is he? She screams. Where's Leonard? That lying, cheating, using son of a... She sees Ruth. Stops. The room is a tableau of shock and confusion. Nobody moves. You, Monica says, pointing at Ruth. You're his wife. I am, Ruth says calmly. He told me you were dying. Monica's voice breaks. Cancer. 6 months to live. He said we were just waiting, that the money was for us, for our future. Then I find out he's been transferring funds to accounts I can't access, changing passwords. And now this. Now he's in the hospital and lawyers are calling me saying I'm a witness in a fraud case. Monica turns to Vivian. And you told me Ruth was abusive, that she controlled all the money, that Leonard needed our help. The room erupts, everyone talking at once. Accusations flying. Aunt Dora is crying. Marcus is on his phone, probably calling his lawyer. Someone knocks over a wine glass, and it shatters on the hardwood floor like the illusion they all believed. Ruth stands. The movement silences the chaos. She looks at Vivian, at Monica, at the broken pieces of Leonard's family scattered around this expensive table. You thought you'd bury me, Ruth says, her voice cutting through everything like a blade. But I'm the one holding the shovel. She picks up her phone, her purse, walks toward the door. Wait, Marcus calls. Ruth, what happens now? Ruth pauses, looks back, smiles for the first time all evening. Now, the police get everything I found, and justice gets served. She walks out into the October night, leaving the wreckage behind her. Ruth is 3 blocks from Vivian's townhouse when her phone rings. Unknown number. She almost ignores it, then thinks better of it and answers. This is Detective Sarah Chen, NYPD. Mrs. Jackson, we need you to come to the precinct tomorrow morning. There's been a development. Ruth's heart stops. What kind of development? The kind that complicates your case. 9 a.m. Don't be late. The line goes dead. Ruth stands on the corner of Madison and 72nd. Taxis streaming past, the city moving like nothing happened. Like her world didn't just crack open again. Her phone buzzes. A text from Marcus. You need to see this. The attached video shows Monica outside the townhouse, talking to reporters Ruth didn't even know were there. The media found the story. Of course they did. Retired bank manager accused of poisoning husband makes great headlines. Monica's face fills the screen, tears streaming, perfectly lit by camera lights. I'm pregnant, she sobs. 3 months. With Leonard's baby. He promised to leave Ruth. He promised we'd be a family. And now she's trying to destroy him. She's making up lies, forging evidence. That audio is fake. Anyone can edit recordings these days. The reporter asks something Ruth can't hear. Leonard loves me, Monica continues. He was going to tell Ruth everything after the party. That's why she snapped. That's why she tried to kill him. She couldn't handle being replaced. Ruth watches the video 3 times. Each viewing makes her chest tighter. Monica is good, really good. Young, pregnant, sympathetic, everything Ruth isn't. Another text. This one from a number she doesn't recognize. That audio file? My tech guy says it could be doctored. You better have more than that. Signed, someone who wants the truth. Then Vivian's voice, probably leaked to the press, plays on a news clip someone forwarded. I don't know what Ruth did to that recording, but my brother would never say those things. She's desperate. She's facing attempted murder charges. Of course she'd make something up. Ruth's phone explodes with messages. Former colleagues, distant relatives, people from church. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone has doubts. Even Marcus texts. Ruth, I want to believe you, but Monica being pregnant changes things. And that audio, if it's not real... Ruth stops reading. Her hands are shaking. The confidence she felt walking out of that townhouse is evaporating like steam. She takes a cab back to Brooklyn. The driver tries to make conversation, but Ruth stares out the window, watching Manhattan dissolve into the river, then reform as her borough. Home. Except home doesn't feel safe anymore. Her apartment is cold and dark. She turns on one lamp, sits on the couch, stares at the wall. What if they're right? What if the audio isn't enough? What if a jury looks at her, 63 and bitter, and at Monica, young and pregnant and crying, and decides Ruth is the villain? She's spiraling. She knows it, but she can't stop. The knock on her door at 11 p.m. makes her jump. Ruth? It's Carla. Ruth considers not answering, but loneliness is worse than disappointment. She opens the door. Carla stands there holding 2 coffees from the diner on 5th Avenue. The good coffee, not the bodega stuff. Her eyes are red. I'm sorry, she says before Ruth can speak. I'm so sorry I doubted you. I saw the news. I saw that girl. And I realized I've known you for 23 years and you've never lied to me once. Not once. So I'm here. Ruth takes the coffee, steps aside. Carla comes in. They sit in silence for a while, just drinking coffee, just existing in the same space. Then Carla reaches into her bag. I called Jamal, she says. Jamal Richards? Ruth asks. From the bank? He's in fraud investigation now. FBI task force. Carla sets a business card on the coffee table. I told him everything. He wants to help. Ruth picks up the card, studies it. Jamal was her protege 15 years ago. She taught him everything about tracking dirty money. He was the best she ever trained. He said if Leonard was moving money offshore, he can find it. And if Vivian was involved, he can prove it. Carla leans forward. Ruth, you taught half the fraud investigators in New York. You think they forgot? You think they won't help you? Something shifts in Ruth's chest. A spark. Small but growing. When can we meet him? Ruth asks. Tonight, if you're ready. 2 hours later, Ruth and Jamal sit in a booth at Tom's Diner on Broadway. It's almost 1 a.m., but the place is packed with night shift workers and insomniacs. The fluorescent lights are harsh, but Ruth doesn't care. She has bank records spread across the table. Leonard's laptop open, her phone displaying the offshore account screenshots. Jamal is 39 now, wearing glasses and a Knicks hoodie, but his eyes are the same, sharp, hungry for the truth. This is beautiful, he says, scrolling through the data. This is a textbook fraud scheme. Shell companies, incremental transfers. But they made mistakes. They always do. What mistakes? Ruth asks. Jamal zooms in on a transfer dated 2 months ago. This signature. It's supposed to be yours, authorizing a wire transfer from your personal account to Leonard's offshore setup. It's not mine, Ruth says immediately. I know, Jamal grins. The loop on the J is wrong, too tight. And look at the date. You were at a conference in Chicago that day. I checked. How did you check that? Ruth, I learned from the best. He pulls up another document. Here's another forged signature. and another. All on transfers moving your money out. All signed by someone pretending to be you. Vivian, Ruth whispers. Probably. Jamal keeps scrolling, and here's the smoking gun. A transfer from Vivian's account to a document forger in Newark. $5,500. 2 days before the first forged signature appears. Ruth stares at the evidence. Real, solid, undeniable. They thought they could outrun me? She laughs. It's tired but real. I've chased down fraud since the 80s. Before computers. Before digital trails. They really thought I wouldn't catch this? Jamal reaches across the table and squeezes her hand. We've got them, Ruth. Leonard. Vivian. Monica might walk because she's just a useful idiot. But the other two? They're done. Ruth looks at the records. At the proof. At the truth spelled out in numbers that don't lie. She slams her fist on the table. Hard enough to rattle the coffee cups. Hard enough to make the couple in the next booth look over. This ends now, Ruth says. And Jamal, grinning like he's 24 again and catching his first case, replies, Yes, ma'am, it does. Denise Martinez answers her phone on the second ring. She's been Ruth's lawyer for 12 years, handled her estate planning, her daughter's trust fund, every legal document that mattered. But she's also been her friend for 20. Ruth, what's wrong? It's 4 a.m. Everything, Ruth says, and I need your help. They meet at Denise's office in Midtown at 7 a.m. Ruth brings the laptop, the recordings, Jamal's forensic analysis, every piece of evidence she's collected. Denise listens without interrupting, her dark eyes getting sharper with each revelation. When Ruth finishes, Denise leans back in her leather chair and whistles low. This is attempted murder, fraud, conspiracy, and enough financial crimes to put them away for decades. She taps her pen against the desk. But you know what happens if we just go to the police, right? It becomes he said, she said. Leonard's family has money. They'll hire the best lawyers. This could drag on for years. So what do we do? Ruth asks. Denise smiles. It's not a nice smile. It's the smile of a woman who graduated top of her class at Columbia Law and spent 15 years making powerful people very uncomfortable. We go nuclear, she says. We take this public. Court of public opinion first, then the actual court. Once everyone knows what they did, once their reputations are ash, the legal system will have no choice but to move fast. Ruth considers this, thinks about Leonard's face on the news, Vivian's boutique plastered with protesters, their names destroyed before the trial even starts. Do it, Ruth says. By noon, the story is everywhere. Channel 7 runs it first. Retired bank manager targeted in murder for money scheme. The audio plays on live television. Leonard's voice, cold and calculated, admitting everything. The anchor looks genuinely shocked. Then the New York Times picks it up. Then the Post. Then CNN. Ruth's phone explodes, but she ignores it. She watches the news from Denise's office, drinking coffee, feeling something like justice starting to take shape. Vivian's boutique on Madison Avenue is the first casualty. By 2 p.m., protesters are outside. Women Ruth doesn't know, holding signs that say greed isn't glamorous and accomplice to murder. Someone spray paints fraud on the window before the police arrive. Vivian tries to release a statement. Her PR team quits an hour later. The offshore accounts Jamal traced get frozen by federal investigators. $3 million, locked down, untouchable. And at Mount Sinai Hospital, Leonard watches it all unfold on the television in his private room. Ruth knows this because Carla texts her. He's freaking out. Police just arrived with a warrant. They're taking his statement now. Ruth sets down her coffee, stands, smooths her dress. I need to see him, she tells Denise. Are you sure that's wise? Probably not, Ruth replies. But I'm doing it anyway. The hospital is chaos when Ruth arrives. News vans line the street. Reporters shout questions. Security tries to keep order. Ruth walks through it all like she's invisible, her head high, her face calm. She knows exactly where Leonard's room is. She's been his wife for 38 years. She could find him in the dark. 2 uniformed officers stand outside his door. Detective Chen is inside, taking notes. She looks up when Ruth enters. "Mrs. Jackson, I'm not sure this is appropriate." "5 minutes," Ruth says. "That's all I need." Chen looks at Leonard, who's suddenly very interested in his IV drip, then at Ruth. She nods. 5 minutes. The officers and detectives step outside. The door closes. Ruth and Leonard are alone for the first time since he collapsed at her retirement party, since he tried to kill her, since everything ended. He looks smaller somehow, older. His hospital gown hangs off his shoulders. His skin is gray. He won't meet her eyes. Ruth walks to the window, looks out at the city, at the news vans below, at the life she's about to reclaim. "You thought I'd break, Leonard," she says quietly. "You thought after 40 years I'd just collapse. Sign whatever papers you put in front of me. Accept my fate like a good little wife." She turns to face him. "I built my life brick by brick," she continues. "Every promotion I earned, every dollar I saved, every bit of respect I commanded, I did that. Not you, not Vivian, not anyone else. Me. And you? You're just a crack in the foundation. Nothing structural. Nothing I can't repair." Leonard's hands shake. "Ruth, I'm sorry," he starts. "No," she cuts him off. "You're not sorry. You're caught. There's a difference." She walks to the door, pauses with her hand on the handle. "I hope it was worth it. The money, the girl, the plan. I hope it was worth losing everything." She leaves him there, small and broken, and facing the rest of his life in prison. Outside, Carla waits in the hallway. She looks nervous, guilty. "Ruth, I need to tell you something," Carla says, "about why I doubted you that night, why I hesitated." Ruth stops walking. "Vivian came to see me," Carla continues, 3 weeks ago, at the bank. She told me you'd been acting strange, paranoid. She said you accused Leonard of having an affair with no proof. She made it sound like you were losing it, retiring and falling apart, and I believed her. I'm so sorry. I should have trusted you." Ruth looks at her friend. 23 years of friendship, of late-night phone calls and birthday dinners and being there when it mattered. "We're family by choice, not blood," Ruth says softly. "And family means we forgive, we move forward, together." Carla's eyes fill with tears. She hugs Ruth right there in the hospital corridor, holding on tight. When they pull apart, Ruth straightens her shoulders and heads for the exit. The news vans swarm as she steps outside. Cameras flash, microphones thrust forward, questions shouted from every direction. Ruth doesn't answer them. She just walks, her silhouette cutting through the chaos, the city lights reflecting off her face like armor. Behind her, the hospital doors close. Ahead of her, the rest of her life waits. And Ruth Jackson, unbreakable, walks straight into it. The Brooklyn Women's Empowerment Gala happens every year at the Prospect Park Boathouse. Ruth funded it for the last decade, $20,000 annually to help women start businesses, go back to school, escape bad situations. It's her legacy before she even retired. Tonight, 300 people fill the venue. City council members, local business owners, women who benefited from the program. The chandeliers glow warm against the autumn darkness outside. A string quartet plays near the water. Ruth almost didn't come, but Denise convinced her. "You need to be seen," she said. "You need to show them you're not hiding. You're not ashamed. You did nothing wrong." So Ruth wears a royal blue dress and her mother's pearls and walks into that room like she owns it. Because in a way, she does. The applause when she enters is cautious, polite. People know the story now. They've seen the news. They're not sure which version of Ruth Jackson stands before them, victim or villain, fighter or fraud. Ruth smiles, takes her seat at a table near the back. Carla sits beside her, Denise on the other side, her armor. The program begins. Speeches about empowerment. Stories from women who built businesses with grant money. A college student who got her tuition paid. Everyone is careful not to mention Ruth by name, even though her donations made this possible. Then Vivian walks in. She's wearing all white like she's the guest of honor. Like she wasn't on the news 3 days ago being called an accomplice to attempted murder. Her makeup is perfect. Her hair is perfect. Her desperation is showing around the edges. She walks straight to the podium. The current speaker, a woman named Teresa who opened a bakery last year, stops mid-sentence. "Excuse me," Vivian says into the microphone, her voice cracking with false emotion. "I'm sorry to interrupt, but I can't stay silent anymore. Not when fraud is being celebrated in this room." The crowd murmurs. Security moves toward the stage, but Vivian holds up her hand. "My name is Vivian Leonard, and I'm here to tell you the truth about Ruth Jackson." Ruth doesn't move, just watches, waits. "That woman," Vivian points directly at Ruth, "has been stealing from my family for years. She forged documents. She manipulated bank accounts. She tried to kill my brother when he discovered what she'd done. And now she's here, pretending to be some kind of hero, some kind of philanthropist, when she's nothing but a criminal." The room erupts. Some people are standing. Others are gasping. Security is trying to remove Vivian, but she clings to the podium. Ruth stands. The movement silences the chaos. Everyone turns. 300 pairs of eyes on her. She walks to the stage. Her heels click against hardwood. The sound echoes. Vivian watches her approach with something like terror breaking through the performance. Ruth climbs the steps, takes the microphone from Vivian's hands. "Thank you for that performance," Ruth says calmly. "Now let me show everyone the truth." She nods to Jamal, who's been waiting in the sound booth. He connects Ruth's laptop to the projection system. The large screen behind the stage flickers to life. Leonard's voice fills the room. The same recording from the family dinner, but louder now, clearer, undeniable. Ruth won't see it coming. The powder goes in her drink, she goes down, everyone sees it, and I play the devastated husband. The crowd is frozen. Vivian is shaking. The screen shows bank records, offshore accounts, forged signatures, money transfers from Ruth's accounts to shell companies, Vivian's name on payment receipts to a document forger in Newark. "She'll be locked up or dead," Leonard's voice continues, "and we'll be gone. Vivian will handle the house sale. Everything's perfect." Ruth pauses the recording, looks at Vivian. "Would you like to tell them how perfect it was?" Ruth asks. "How you were promised $100,000 to help frame me. How your boutique is bankrupt and you needed the money so badly you'd help murder your brother's wife." Vivian's face crumbles. The white dress suddenly looks like a costume. She grabs the podium for support. "I didn't," she starts. "You don't understand. You had everything. Everything. The career, the respect, the money. Everyone loved you. And I had nothing. My marriage failed. My business failed. Leonard said you'd be fine. He said it wasn't really murder. Just making you go away." The admission lands like a bomb. Security is moving now, but Ruth holds up her hand. "You were jealous," Ruth says quietly. "So jealous you'd rather see me dead than successful." Vivian collapses onto a chair on stage, sobbing. Not elegant crying. Real, ugly, defeated crying. Ruth turns back to the microphone, to the crowd. "Monica Phillips, Leonard's mistress, is cooperating with police," Ruth announces. "She's provided testimony about the entire scheme. Leonard Jackson and Vivian Leonard are both facing charges of attempted murder, fraud, conspiracy, and about 15 other felonies. The district attorney expects convictions on all counts." The crowd is silent, stunned. "But here's what matters most," Ruth continues. Her voice is strong now, powerful. "I want you to know that earlier this week, I donated $1.5 million, half of everything Leonard tried to steal. I gave it to the Brooklyn Women's Shelter, to the Empowerment Fund, and to organizations that help women escape dangerous situations." Gasps ripple through the audience. Because money doesn't define me, Ruth says. My strength does. My integrity does. The life I built with my own hands, my own mind, my own refusal to break when someone tried to bury me. That's what defines me. She looks out at the crowd, at faces she knows and faces she doesn't, at women who fought their own battles, at people who understand what it means to survive. Leonard and Vivian thought they could take everything from me, but they forgot something important. You can't steal what matters most. You can't forge dignity. You can't transfer courage to an offshore account. You can't poison the truth. The applause starts slowly. One person, then two. Then the entire room is standing, clapping, some crying, some cheering. Ruth stands at that podium, the city skyline glittering through the windows behind her, and feels something she hasn't felt in weeks. Whole. Vivian is escorted out by security, shrinking with every step, disappearing into the night that's waiting for her. And Ruth Jackson, 63 years old, retired, vindicated, and unbreakable, takes her seat among friends. The gala continues. The music plays. Life goes on. But everyone in that room knows they witnessed something rare. They witnessed justice. 3 weeks later, Ruth's Brooklyn apartment feels like home again. The windows are open, letting in October air that smells like freedom. She's cleaned out Leonard's closet, donated his clothes, replaced their wedding photo with pictures of her daughter, her friends, her life. Tonight, she's hosting. Just 4 people around her dining table. Carla, who never doubted her again. Jamal, who proved the truth lived in numbers. Denise, who turned evidence into justice. And Ruth herself, wearing jeans and a sweater, her mother's pearls traded for simple gold hoops. They're drinking wine, the good stuff, not champagne. Ruth will never touch champagne again. Remember when you caught that VP embezzling pension funds? Jamal asks, laughing. $2 million and he thought he was slick. Ruth smiles. Took me 3 days. He was using his daughter's college fund as a pass-through account. Amateur hour. You terrified that man, Carla adds. He confessed before you even finished presenting the evidence. That's because he knew, Ruth says. When the numbers don't lie, neither can you. The television plays in the background, volume low. Then the news anchor's voice cuts through their laughter. Breaking news in the Leonard Jackson attempted murder case. Leonard Jackson, 65, has been formally charged with attempted murder, fraud, conspiracy, and 15 counts of financial crimes. His sister, Vivian Leonard, faces similar charges as an accomplice. If convicted, both could face up to 30 years in prison. The table goes quiet. Ruth reaches for the remote, but Denise stops her. No. Watch. You earned this. The screen shows Leonard in an orange jumpsuit, hands cuffed, being led into court. He looks nothing like the man who stood at that retirement party 4 weeks ago. He looks broken, finished. Then Vivian appears, her face hidden behind sunglasses and a scarf, photographers swarming. The boutique behind her has a for-lease sign in the window. Everything she built, everything she was, gone. Prosecutors say the evidence is overwhelming. The anchor continues. Audio recordings, bank statements, and testimony from multiple witnesses paint a clear picture of a calculated plot to murder Mrs. Ruth Jackson and steal her assets. The trial is expected to begin in January. Ruth picks up the remote, turns it off. Enough about them, she says. Tonight is about us. Jamal raises his glass to Ruth Jackson, the woman who taught me that the truth always surfaces, even when it's buried under lies and greed. To Ruth, they echo. The wine is sweet, the conversation flows. They talk about everything except Leonard, except poison, except betrayal. They talk about Jamal's daughter starting college, about Carla's new promotion, about Denise's vacation to Puerto Rico, about life continuing, beautiful and mundane and real. Around midnight, they leave. Hugs at the door. Promises to do this again next week. Ruth closes the door behind them, and stands in her apartment, alone, but not lonely. The next morning, Ruth wakes to her phone ringing. It's Teresa, the woman from the bakery who spoke at the gala. "Ruth, you need to come to Borough Hall. Today, noon." "Why? What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong." Teresa's voice is bright. "Trust me. Just come." At 11:45, Ruth stands outside Brooklyn Borough Hall. She's wearing a navy dress, simple and elegant. Her hair is done. Her makeup is subtle. She looks like herself again. Teresa meets her at the entrance, grinning. "What's this about?" Ruth asks. "You'll see." They walk into the main chamber. It's packed. City council members, community leaders, women from the shelter Ruth donated to, the entire board of the Empowerment Fund. Ruth Jackson, the borough president, announces, stepping to the podium, "Please come forward." Ruth's heart pounds. She walks down the aisle, aware of every eye on her. The borough president holds a plaque, crystal and brass, catching the light. "We are here today to honor a woman who exemplifies resilience, integrity, and unwavering strength." Ruth Jackson faced unimaginable betrayal, yet she never compromised her truth. She never stopped fighting, and in her darkest moment, she gave back to her community, ensuring other women would have the resources to survive their own battles. Ruth's eyes sting, but she doesn't cry. Not yet. It is my honor to present Ruth Jackson with the Brooklyn Community Leadership Award for her 41 years of service, her dedication to women's empowerment, and her incredible courage in the face of adversity. The room erupts in applause. Ruth accepts the plaque, runs her fingers over the engraving. Her name, her legacy, untarnished. She steps to the microphone, looks out at faces that believe her, support her, see her. "I spent 41 years proving myself," Ruth begins. Her voice is steady, strong. "Every promotion, I had to work twice as hard. Every achievement, I had to justify. I got used to it, expected it, even." She pauses, takes a breath. "But the hardest thing I ever had to prove was my innocence when the people closest to me tried to destroy me. When my own husband, my own family, decided my life was worth less than money." The room is silent, listening. "I'm standing here today because I refuse to let their lies become my truth, because I trusted the evidence, the facts, the numbers that don't lie." She smiles. "And because I had people who stood with me when it mattered most." The applause is deafening. That evening, Ruth stands in her bathroom, preparing for bed. She looks at herself in the mirror, really looks, at the 63-year-old woman staring back. Gray hair she's earned, lines around her eyes from years of laughter and struggle, strong jaw, clear eyes, unbroken. "You tried to poison my legacy," she whispers to the reflection, "but I turned it into my crown." She touches the plaque sitting on her dresser, then walks to the window. Brooklyn spreads out before her, lights twinkling like promises. The city that raised her, that tested her, that watched her survive. Behind her, the apartment is warm and safe. Ahead of her, a life entirely her own. No Leonard, no lies, no limits. The sun will rise in 6 hours. Ruth will wake up free. She'll have coffee on her balcony. She'll call her daughter. She'll plan lunch with Carla. She'll live the life she built, the one no one could steal. Because envy destroys the envious, but truth rebuilds the unbreakable. Ruth's story proves that strength, not lies, writes the final chapter. And her chapter is just beginning. If Ruth's fight for justice inspired you, hit that subscribe button and share this story, because the truth always wins, and the strongest weapon against betrayal is refusing to break. Stay strong, stay true, and never let anyone write your ending.